Is vast majority something to avoid? I've seen a few folks in various situations complain about the phrase vast majority. The only online reference I can find for such dissent is, unfortunately, the Urban Dictionary. I grant that the phrase is not particularly eloquent. But it is idiomatic and I use it myself quite frequently in technical documents to represent a figure over 90% but where I don't want to break the flow of text to present the actual value. So my questions. Is the idiom vast majority something to avoid? Does it leave a bad impression? What are better alternatives?
It may not convey 90% to all readers. You have to be quite careful with this sort of usage. However, if the document uses vast majority in a sense that makes it a subset of most, then I think you can get away with it. It's certainly a useful phrase, but there's always almost all or all but a few.
In a technical document I might use it, but only if I had the actual percentage. For example, the result was positive in the vast majority, 94.3% of cases. I would, however, try to avoid it and would probably go with something like, the result was positive in a clear majority, 94.3% of cases.
If you have numbers to support the differentiation between majority and vast majority, I prefer to just see the numbers and usually interpret vast majority as hyperbole. Also, I would note that majority doesn't always mean greater than 50%, so there is already a lot of inherent ambiguity.
I think vast majority is perfectly acceptable. Go for it. I suppose I am being quite idiosyncratic, but when I use an adjective in front of majority, I use these rankings, especially when thinking about elections. Vast majority means almost all or something like 90% or more, but less than unanimous. Overwhelming majority means well beyond any hope of finding enough who are swayable to take the opposite case or something like 75% or more. Large majority means an unquestionable number such that there's no point in demanding a recount or something like 60%. Small majority means a comfortable margin, but not enough to take for granted or something like 53%. Bare majority means you just barely cracked 50.1%, and if this were an election and your opponent demanded a recount, you are probably toast, or 50.1% or more.